Hey everybody, it's Kanesha from boldlivingtoday.com. Welcome back, bold thinkers, and welcome to any new viewers that we have today. Welcome to Wednesday Club, which is my weekly broadcast where I bring on an amazing guest so we can talk about different elements of the club. And before we get started, let me describe what that is to you. The C stands for creativity. L, learning from and successfully navigating life transitions. U, untangling from things and thoughts that keep us small. And B, building and amplifying our boldness. So it's a really good space for us to learn from a guest, get some inspiration, get some boldness, ask questions, and then, carry on with our action items or reinfuse some energy into our goals and just really focus on what makes us feel good, what makes us feel bold, and what will help us level up to our next level. So before we get excited, I am excited. Before we get started and I introduce our guest for today, I just want to answer some questions that came up as always. Thank you to everyone who was able to check out the live from yesterday when I made some announcements about some upcoming events and there were questions. So one of the questions was, I see that you have parent office hours and a parenting community. How are they different? Excellent question. So the parenting office hours, that's one-on-one coaching, and that's typically a parent is challenged or struggling with or wants to expand some area of their parenting toolkit, and they just want to work with me one-on-one and get the tools, get the strategies. And, that's how we work. So that's a coaching session, and you can have the choice of picking 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, whatever you feel is best for you and your needs. And then the parenting community, which is new, and that's launching in September, but people are enrolling now. The parenting community is a little bit more robust. So you will have a monthly class with me where we'll be, on video conferencing, and I'll be teaching you something directly, a specific curriculum. And then you also get kind of like a journal, but it's downloadable printables that you can use based on whatever we're teaching that particular month. And in addition to the monthly class, you also have access to a monthly Q&A, kind of like Wednesday Club, but specifically just around parenting, where you can send your questions in ahead of time or ask them in real time, and we just dive deep into whatever you are thinking about. So instead of it being one-on-one coaching, it's more of a group session where we can all brainstorm and really support each other and get information out there. So I hope that's clear in describing what the difference between the two are. Sometimes with the parent office hours, people want a really specific thing dealt with in that moment. And that's why the one-on-one coaching is very effective in that case. Whereas, or in conjunction with, depending on who you are, the parenting community is really kind of this ongoing level of support. It's really streamlined, so you don't have to log into different portals and things like that. Things are just sent right to you in your email so that you don't have to go log into some other place. And you get updates right to your email, and everything is just right there. And I've done this before, but with a much smaller group, and people just set up an email folder for their parenting community information so they can go to that space anytime they need it, whenever they need it, look at it, review it, and utilize it. So that's the difference between parent office hours and the parenting community. And I also I didn't say this yesterday just because I had to get some logistical things done with my calendar, but typically around this time of year, I offer the Hack Your Planner workshop at some local agencies, some being libraries or nonprofits. So I'm bringing that online because people are like, are you still going to be doing the Hack Your Planner workshop? And I will be doing it. I typically wait for families and students to start school and have a couple of weeks under their belt so that they can see what's working with the planner. And then if they have challenges, then the Hack Your Planner workshop gives them tools that can be overlaid, integrated immediately for the academic year. So that information should be coming to you in the next week. So it's a really fun and busy time in the Bold Living Today community, and I'm super excited. Okay. Before I bring our guests on, another thing I want to say is just I'm sending out well wishes to people in California, which is where I am in Northern California, and also Colorado. I know people are dealing with the wildfires, dealing with the smoke from the wildfires, dealing with evacuations, on top of dealing with COVID-19. So it's a lot going on. So take good care of yourself, ask for help, take as many breaks as needed, and, stay safe. Okay. So today, our special guest is the amazing and national best-selling author, J.D. Mason. I love her. I'm super impressed with her, and I'm going to bring her on here so she can introduce herself to you all. So if you have questions, comments during the discussion, just make sure you put them in the comment section so you can see them, so we can see them. So I'm going to bring JD on so we can do it. So JD, I'm trying to invite you on. Are you a public account? Because you need to be public for us to have you join us on this Instagram live broadcast. So clicking. So check your settings on that so you can go live with us. You're private. Well, you gotta be you have to be unprivate today. Yes, just go into your settings, go on your profile and then go into your settings and change it from private just for this broadcast, and then you can go back private. You don't have to be unprivate forever. So yes, you have to be not private. Hey, Jamina. Tanya, hello. Hey, Dee. Waving to everybody. Yes. And don't worry, JD, this has happened before, and that's totally okay. I had another great guest, Tony, who's a physician who was private before. Okay, see? Clickety, click. And try to invite you again. Nope. Still trying to invite. Let's see. There we go. Here it comes. Oh, I'm super excited. Y'all, I'm sure I'm going to be doing a lot of giggling during this interview because JD is hilarious. So she is coming on. Can't wait to see her. Where's everybody checking in from? I know some people are in California from recognizing the usernames. I know some people are in Georgia. Did everybody's kids start school? My son started school Monday. So we are just on the hump day of things started. And I don't know, the change in the schedule makes me so tired. Oh my gosh, Georgia, where masks are merely a suggestion. That's so hard. Just wear your mask. Stay away from other people. That's so hard. I mean, just put the mask on, everybody. All right. I don't know if we're having some technical difficulties. I know there's storms out east, so that might be part of the internet issues. But hopefully we'll get it going. Oh. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's another thing while we wait here that came across my inbox, but not related to Wednesday Club and not a conversation specifically to one of our guests, but somebody was talking to me about how to set up creativity spaces in your house that is separate from school, because they're trying to figure out how to have other options for their kids at home. We're doing remote learning, and they want to be able to have some other space for them. And so I said, just put a card table, or if you don't have a big space for a card table, you can put up a like a TV tray size thing, table, or just some space, and just put a few craft materials out, and then each week take something away and add something else. Hallelujah. and set up a craft table. So if any more questions about the craft table, just let me know. Hello, JD.
Hey, I was trying to do it from my computer
Oh,
and it wouldn't work.
no. It has to be like a tablet or your phone.
Yeah. So
That's okay. That's okay. Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm indoors. I couldn't get out today because the smoke is so bad, but I'm just feeling grateful that we're all safe here.
It's fire season. You know how that goes.
It is. My youngest is born in Colorado, and so he's lived in Colorado and California. And he says, "Why do we always live places that are on fire?" And I was like, honey, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Climate change. Yes. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell us who you are?
I'm JD Mason, author. I've been writing professionally, meaning getting paid, since 2002. And I've written everything from contemporary fiction to now some fantasy stuff. Some of my bestsellers are On the Eighth Day She Rested, One Day I Saw a Black King, and Woman Trapped in the Dark, Beautiful, Dirty, Rich. And some of my non-bestsellers, but are really fun books to write, are my Dragon series, the Fire Breathing series, and the Fortune and Fire series. And that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. I know Jamila is online. Jamila, if you have a moment, if your fingers are available, will you just throw JD's web link in the comments? That would be awesome. That would be fabulous. So before we get into the fabulous interview, when I want to hear about all these things and this creativity and this writing, because I have questions, I want to play our little game that we always play at the start of Wednesday Club. And this is Would You Rather? So I'm going to give you two options of things, and you can tell us which one you would pick. And of course, we're bold and we're rebels. If you don't like those two things, you can throw out a whole nother option. So,
oh, cool.
Okay. So here we go. And this is if there's no COVID, we're safe to move around. We can do what we want. Okay. So would you rather go to the botanical gardens, or an art museum? If you had the choice.
A beach.
Okay.
An island, on an island somewhere. That's just a beautiful island. That's where I'd rather go.
Okay. Island, beach, water. Got it. Okay. So would you rather travel to Morocco or South Africa?
South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, South Africa, because they got beaches.
I'm noticing a theme here. Okay. So would you rather, if you had this activity, would you rather stomp grapes with your bare feet or do one of those mud runs with your bare feet?
Ooh, I like the grape thing. That sounds like that'd feel really good.
Yeah. Have you ever done that?
No, but it just sounds like it'd feel really good to your feet. I wouldn't drink it, but but it sounds like it just be really, really ooh, this feels so good.
We lived in California almost 8 years, and I always see those things come up, where you can sign up or be a member of a wine club or, something like that. And I've always wanted to do it, but I'm always like, I'm not going to drink that.
Right. It's like, who would want it,
And I'm sure they do this whole filtration thing, but the whole mental concept of it messes with me. I'm not
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Some things you just can't get past, Kanesha.
No, you cannot.
Right.
It's just nope, sorry, I have boundaries.
Yes.
That's one. Okay.
Yes.
Well, if I find something and it's all safe and you come here for your book event that you usually come here for, we'll figure something out and go.
Cool.
I would love that. Okay. So, thank you, Jamina, for putting the web link in the comments. You're awesome. Perfect.
She is awesome.
So that you can check out what JD has going on. So, okay. So tell us how you became a professional storyteller and a novelist, because, I know a little bit more about your previous initial career, and I'm just so fascinated by that transition. That's amazing.
Okay. It really, it took me 6 years. I mean, my dream was to get that big deal in New York City, right? That big publisher. Mm-hmm. And so for 6 years, I wrote and I rewrote and I edited, and I got rejected about a bazillion times from agents and publishers. And I quit a couple times because I was like, this isn't going to happen. And then one day it did happen. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to be the right place, the right time. The right agent read my book, and she offered to sign me. And then a couple months later, I had a contract with St. Martin's in New York. And I think that the thing is that whole 6-year period. I mean, I could have gotten there quicker maybe if I knew how to write a book at the time, but I didn't know how to write a novel, how to put one together. And so it took that long for me to figure it out.
So let me ask you this. So in this 6-year period that you're writing your first novel or novels, do you have a different job? Like, when are you writing?
Oh yeah, I had a job and I had little kids, and I wrote all the time. I mean, I wrote at work sometimes. I'd sneak and write a chapter. At home, I would come home, feed the kids, help them with the homework, and then we would get, I once they were, settled in, it was me working until all wee hours of the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you make time for what's important.
Yes.
You make time, you're never going to have time. Writing is one of those things where it's like exercise. It's one of the things that the first things you can always find an excuse not to do, because it's not fun. It's not exciting. It's boring. It's tedious. It's lonely, but it's like, that's how you get it done. And so if somebody says to you, hey, let's go to the beach, you're like, okay, it's really quick to say yeah, but you have to, get that discipline, and you have to say, no, this is got to be done, and I got to make it happen. So, I mean, I was not an overnight person with this, I wouldn't even say, success, but this didn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, it's still happening, there's that end goal that I kept thinking was there. I've never really hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
do.
Yeah. It's like you think once this happens, that's it. And it's like, no, that's not really, it doesn't look like what you think it looks like. And it doesn't feel like what you think it feels like. And so next, you just kind of keep going thinking, when am I going to get to that end goal? But it's like, it never really comes. And that's when you kind of realize, well, maybe this isn't about the end goal. Maybe this is just about the journey to the end goal. And that's probably the fun part.
I love that. Okay, so I have some gems. I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. So the first part is, I love what you said. We make time for what's important to us. I've been talking about struggling with finishing this workbook that I'm creating for teens. And it's not because I'm not spending the time on it, but I'm spending the time on it, and it wasn't going in the right direction. And that's the tedious part, was like, no. If this is going to have my name on it, I know the timeline is this, but I need the quality to be like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had to rework it, and I had to be okay with it. And, the whole end goal was not just to finish. It was like, I want this to be high quality. I wanted to be helping these young people who I value so much. And I love how you say that, we have to really, dig deep and do this. It's lonely, it's tedious, it's not always fun, but it's important work. And I was thinking about the end goal piece, so I'm just thrilled that you said, it's not just about the end goal, it's about the journey. I got to focus on the journey part of it and be okay with it. Yeah. And the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 6 years, you didn't know necessarily how to write a novel, but you kept going at it, which I think is so amazing. It's like, be a skilled beginner, keep going, keep doing it. And so there's a lot of people who don't think they can call themselves a writer until they get the official book deal, right? Or the agent.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that?
I think that's funny. I think that's so funny. I think, I think there's if a writer, to me, this is a writer to me. A writer is somebody that you can't help yourself. You can't help yourself. And it's like, whether there's money involved, whether there's a contract involved, whether there's whatever, or any kind of reward involved or not, you can't help yourself. This is something you got to do, right? That's a writer. It's like, I got to do this. It's like breathing. If I can't, if I don't do this, what else is there? Right. And so, the contract, the money, if you do it for those things, I feel bad for you, because what I learned, and I did do it for those things. Yeah. And what I've learned is those are the probably the two things you shouldn't do it for. the two most important things you shouldn't do it for. You should write because it's in your soul to write. You should write because it's your passion to do it. If there's a reward coming to you, it'll come. It'll come if you're doing the work. But when there was a period of time in my career where I started to focus just on those things, the next contract, the next advance, all that kind of stuff. And what I found was I started to lose that joy for writing. I started to lose the passion for what I love, and it became something else. And it became something that wasn't good for me, and I wasn't as passionate about it. I didn't love it anymore. And in 2018, my nose keeps itching. 2018, that was the first time in 16 years I didn't get a contract renewal. And I went through, nobody but me and God knows what kind of feelings I went through. And I'd sit on my yoga mat and I gave myself permission to have every single feeling that came up.
Yeah.
Everyone. There were some good ones. There were some bad ones. I cried. I laughed. I mean, on me on my yoga mat. It was really like, if you watched it, you probably think that is so peculiar. But, but it was funny because after I went through that period, that year, I decided, you know what? Having a contract never made me a writer. It was a vehicle to getting the work out.
Okay.
But it never made me a writer. I'm a writer, period. And once I came to that realization and I accepted it, I said, I'm just going to write what I like, what I want, what I've always been afraid to. And I started doing that. And all of a sudden, it felt amazing. And I felt more talented than when I had a big publishing house behind me. I felt more gifted than when I had a big publishing house behind me. I felt more creative on my own without them, because it wasn't this hold on me is like, well, you got to sell this many books so you can make back that money. You got to sell this many books or else you're not going to get a new contract. It wasn't that pressure. So not saying that if that's your dream, that's your goal, not to go for it, go for it. But just don't make that define you. Don't let it define you, whether you get it or not.
Okay, so don't let that define you, whether you get it or not. I had written a post like a week ago or something like that about keeping your eyes on your own paper and talking about how noisy right now social media is. We're all at home. We've been at home for months.
Right.
And we're checking in, and people have had these goals, these dreams, these writing projects, some kind of creative, output. And then they see, these other people doing well, and they're going to celebrate those people. But then this comparison trap. Yeah. And then it takes away the creativity, the joy, the passion, like you said, the freedom of not having to, you didn't say perform, but I'm saying perform. Now it's all about the creative space instead of just performing to make the money, to get the book deal and stuff like that, which are for you if it's for you, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, because some people feel like that's just such a little cop-out thing. But I'm just saying, if you are doing deep, passionate work that fills you up and that is, high quality, like your higher self work,
there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. I mean, like I said, there was an author many years ago before I got started, and his name was Elin Harris, and he was a big deal.
Yes.
He was a big deal back in
his stuff.
And I remember sitting in an audience one time, he was talking, and this was him at the height of his game. And he said to everybody, he said, if you want to be a writer, don't do it for money. And of course, all I'm thinking was, you're Elin Harris, dude, you getting paid. You got money, right? So you can't tell me that. But years later, his words came back to haunt me, and he's absolutely right. And he knew something that at that time I didn't know. That when you get into this business, even if you have a contract with a publisher, people think you're rich. They think you're making all of this money and you're rich. They have no clue that most of us, less than 1% of full-time of writers who write professionally, less than 1%, fewer than 1% can afford to write full-time. They just can't do it. It's just not that kind of, it's not that lucrative. And it sounds like it on the surface. You can get a big 6-figure advance or whatever, but they don't understand. You got to pay that back. So it's a 6 and 1/2 a dozen of the other profession. It's like you gotta love it. You really gotta love it to the point of being obsessed with it to make any kind of dent in this world as a writer. You got to be obsessed. And when I tell new writers, I would tell them, this isn't just something you do passively. This is an obsession. For those of us you see with our books in the Barnes and Nobles and on the shelves, this is an obsession. This is something that has to be done like every day.
Yeah.
That's who we are. We're crazy. We're insane. We're crazy people.
I love that. I love that. It's just because, and the other piece is, a couple weeks ago we had Kanesha Jacopito. She's actually following along on here, and talking about her creative process and about the internal part, like you said, the obsession and all that. I think a lot of people feel like our creativity has to come from outside of us, but no, whatever that is, growing up in you and the way that you express it, writing, singing, drawing, me in the crafting, whatever it is, you have to answer to that, even when you're busy, even during the pandemic, even during, wildfires.
Yeah.
You need that space. You need, to express that. So, talking about creativity, how do you keep your creativity going, and how do you continually, refill your imagination? Because, JD, the way you write, oh my gosh, your imagination, I just like, does she have like an extra imagination brain just on the shelf to just, because it's just so amazing and deep and rich and overflowing.
I found that, and you know what, this is the truth.
Okay.
Creativity is like any muscle in your body. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Uh-huh.
So you can't just, you can, where, you can be creative and have a spurt and, go through this and then wait years later and then, want to be creative again or try to start up a couple months later. And what I found is you keep that muscle flexed. You keep that muscle in shape. So the more creative I am, the more creative I become. Mm-hmm. It's easier to keep it going than it is to create something, be creative, stop, and then try to start up again 6 months later, right? It's hard to start. It's like going back to the gym, right? After you haven't been to the gym in 6 months, it's like, I used to be really good at this. And it's like, oh God, this is like starting all over. That's exactly what being creative is like. You have to continually work on it like you would anything else. Anything, any part of your body, any part of your brain, it gets stronger. And so the more I create, the more creative I become. And it gets to the point where it gets hard for me to keep up with the ideas. They come so quick, they come so fierce. There are like 20 books I'll never write just because I don't have the time. Yeah. But they're great stories, and it pisses me off because it's like, I would love to write that. I just don't know if I'll ever get around to it. But that's what that's the truth. It's like the more you do it, the more creative you are, the easier it is to be creative.
Mm-hmm. And then what about your imagination? Like, does that just kind of so connected with your creativity, or?
Yeah. I was that kid your mother worried about, right? I was that one. My poor mom, because she's pretty straight and narrow, she's pretty, but I was that kid that my imagination has been the biggest part of me my whole life. Mm-hmm. So where other kids need to go out and play and have fun with other kids, I could sit in my room and make dolls or play with my dolls. And my doll sagas went on for months. And if I didn't have a doll, because I'd usually cut the hair off or lose the head or something, I would make paper dolls. And it would go on for months. And I would have, she's this woman stranded on an island, and this guy comes up on a boat and he shows up and rescues her, but they're both stranded on the island. It's like it went on and on and on. And if I didn't like something, I'd back it up to a certain point. Okay, redo that because that didn't end up the way you wanted it to be done. And this was me at 6, 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
I think, I know she was worried because she would give me looks sometimes, but at the time when I was little, I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand that I was, this creative storyteller in the making. Mm. I was just a little kid having fun. My imagination to me in a lot of ways, I'm going to end up being that old lady sitting in the corner at the nursing home talking to herself because because it's better than the real world to me in a lot of ways, you know, and I can create my own worlds. And I do that even now in my age. I mean, I think I should feel a little silly, but I don't. And I love it, you know? So.
Yeah, I can totally see you, you know, you, me, and some people we have in common at the nursing home, the ones you're related to. That would be something.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm gonna focus because I was just like, huh. Oh my gosh, that would, yeah, they would have to put us in our own section for some reason.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So okay, you mentioned when we were setting this up, and I really want to hear about this. You mentioned that you are reinventing yourself at 56. What does that look like? What does that mean for you? And you know, and is it driven by what's going on right now, or just the timing was just what it was?
The timing is just what it was. You know, I think what it looks like when I visualize it in my head, it looks like me standing in the middle of a wide open field on a bright sunny day with clear blue skies, with my arms stretched out, my head back, my eyes closed, and spinning around till I get dizzy. Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just. I'm at this point in my life where my babies are grown. And it was about 2 years ago when I realized, wait a minute, they're grown. They don't need me like they used to. And, you know, because I was kind of like that helicopter mom hovering around like, okay, I'm here in case you need me. I'm here in case something happens. And now they're like, what? And it dawned on me back then, about 2 years ago, it's like, they're not babies. I don't have to be here. And I didn't want to stay in Colorado. I'd been in Colorado. I didn't want to stay in Colorado. I wanted to move on and try someplace new. So I packed up and I moved. And I moved someplace where I didn't know anybody. I moved to Raleigh. And I was like, I visited Raleigh for a weekend, had a good time. I was like, I think I can go back to Raleigh. Why not? I couldn't think anywhere else to go. So that was a whim. And I'm like, if I'm at this age now, I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do it now before I'm too old to do it. Because now I realize, I finally realized I'm not gonna live forever. When I was 20, I wasn't gonna die. When I was 30, no way. Now I'm 56. It's like, okay, you know, do what you want to do now, because now it's just you. So from there, like I said, I started writing out of my genre, out of my comfort zone, trying these new things that I was always afraid to write before. I love fantasy, but I was always afraid to write it because I'm like, I'm not good at that. That's not my thing, right? And then I found out that I love it so much that I'm willing to make it my thing.
Yeah.
And then a year to the date after I moved to Raleigh, I ended up moving to New Orleans. So I'm here in my pink room. And it's like never in a million years that I think that would happen. But what happened was I noticed the signs. You know, I'm at this age in this place in my life now where I'm like, okay, universe, speak to me. And I'm going to pay attention. And all the signs were there. And the only things that kept coming back to me, this mantra that that's been with me for the last, I don't know how many months, is be open to receive. Stop telling the universe what this is supposed to look like after you ask for it, and just put it out there and let it deliver how it's going to deliver it, and just be open to receive it. Be brave enough to receive it. And the only reason I think I'm there is because I'm 56. And I think because I've lived long enough to trust not just the universe, but to trust myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a lot of things are thrown at us during the course of our lives of growing up, growing older.
Yes.
And when we're younger, we panic and we think that's the worst thing in the world. And then you get through it and you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Or with that, in addition to the panicking, we've been indoctrinated that things have to, you know, that part.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And everything that you imagine the worst thing to be is like once it finally hits, 9 times out of 10, it's not that bad.
No.
You know, you just make it bad. And so through the course of my life, I've realized, you know, all these things that I've come up against, I survived them. I've thrived in them. I've grown from them. I've learned from them. So I trust the universe now to deliver, because I know that no matter what it delivers, chances are I'm going to be okay. I'll manage it. You know,
Yes.
I'll manage it. I'll be either smarter from it, I'll be better from it, I'll be something from it. But I think that's why it's like, okay, now I'm okay with whatever, because I have pretty much went through what I've gone through, and what I've gotten through has made me stronger and more prepared for if something happens. Not that we can recover or heal from everything,
Right.
but I'm okay regardless. Right.
So let's go back. So I love that, because I always tell my clients, when they're afraid to take whatever the leap or risk is, and sometimes it's tiny and sometimes it's big, but the same type of fear response comes up regardless, right?
Right.
And I always say, let's write about the worst thing that could happen if you do X, and we write it down. Like I want you to be able to read it back to me, like hear yourselves say what the worst thing is, and they read it back to me, they're like, well, that's not that bad.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just not that bad, because I'm like, just write it down, just write, like, no syntax, just write it right, and then read it to me. And they're just like, this is what's been holding me back, or this is what I was fretting about. And I feel like a lot of times for women, and specifically women of color, Black women, we don't give ourselves enough permission to try things and have it not go well. Like, we can still try things and have it not go well, and look, we're still okay. Oh my goodness,
Yeah. There is, failing is not the worst thing that can happen. You learn from it. You grow from it. You become a better person from it. It hurts. It stings.
It hurts. You might have a scab, but
but get up. Do it again. You get up. And that's the thing that was the one lesson I really wanted to teach my kids growing up. It's like, you're not going to win at everything, but every time you fall, if you can get up and try it again, or try something else, you're okay. You're going to be okay. That's what life is. That's really what all it is in a nutshell. It's like, you're going to get knocked down. Getting knocked down is one thing. Staying down is the worst thing.
That's right? It.
So,
so let me ask you this, because, this wasn't in our, discussion notes, but, you were talking about you are trusting yourself, you're, listening, responding to the signs. And so I'll use myself as an example first. What are your signalings? Like, for me, usually, I am such a directed, focused person that sometimes I'm like, well, that's not on my to-do list for today, so I'm going to ignore this sign.
No, really?
I'm just going to be like,
no, really?
all confessions and things like that. This is why, I have to say, I'm so good at helping people untangle their own stuff. Because, I am like a bulldozer in my own things. And so I have learned through age and grace to, slow down a little bit, still be going and hear the signs. And my signs that I've been noticing probably in the past 4 years is that when I get responses for people and the same things are almost verbatim, like what they're saying to me back, like a feedback thing. And I'm like, oh, that's a sign, spending more time doing like these interviews and doing those little videos from my minivan, although I'm not doing those because I'm not going anywhere. Like, people were like really excited about those. And I was like, but I'm just in the minivan, like kind of minimizing how I connect with people.
Yeah.
And then also minimizing, my level of being a micro influencer, like suggesting things to people, helping them do something, and people really being excited about it. But I'm like, oh, you could have just Googled that. And they were like, yeah, but I wouldn't have just seen that. And really trusting how you connect with people, and then you can turn that into something. Right. I wasn't trusting that for a very long time, but in the last 4 years, I've been a little less, chaotic in my own thinking for myself. I can hear those signs. I can pause to receive them. So how do your signs come to you when you're, when you're getting these messages?
It's usually a feeling.
Okay.
It's a feeling. It's just something. It's like I was thinking the other day, do I want a dog? Right? Something simple as a dog. And I had all these different types of feelings. Yeah, I wanted to get up. And the reason this thought came to me is because I wanted to go to the park and walk. I was like, wouldn't it be nice to have a dog? Right? Then I thought, no, you don't go get a dog just because you want to walk one Saturday in the park. And I stopped myself, which when I was younger, I would have just gone and gotten a dog, right? But I stopped myself and I thought, you know what? It doesn't feel solid.
Yeah.
right? And so I'm like you, I had to stop all that inner turmoil, and you get really quiet. Now, for the last 2.5 years, I've kind of been like in my own desert, right? You know, Jesus went to the desert and for 3 years before he preached or whatever. Yeah. I've been in my own desert. So it's just been me being single, living in my space by myself. And that's quieted a lot. It's quieted all the inner, I'm a Virgo, so it's like the thoughts jumble around. I'm an overthinker by nature, right? But it's quieted things a lot internally, like you were saying. And when you do that, when you let go of some of that, inside, you start to pay attention to, and there's signs all around, right? They're just either it's something you see on the television or hear in a song, or your friend says something to you, or a coach says something to you, or a feeling comes over. You read it in a book. They're there. We just get so busy we don't see them. And those affirmations, like when I'll be, doing something, it's like, I wonder, should I do this? And then something will pop up based on what I was just thinking. And it affirms a thought. But it comes from being more quiet on the inside and more open on the inside to absorb what's happening around you. Not just the negative things, but the little things that we take for granted. Like I said, a little word in a book or something that pops up on the computer or whatever. And so I think the thing for me is it is feelings, but it's that I quieted down a lot internally. And that's why I've gotten very guarded with my space. It's like, do you want a boyfriend? Kind of, but no. It's like I'm still kind of cute. I could probably get one, but it's like, no, I don't think so, because he's gonna come in here and mess up my space. And I'm feeling selfish.
Your energy.
Yes, it's my energy in this house right now, and it's like I don't want to really disturb that because it's very precious to me right now. And my fear, I kind of have a fear that I'm gonna end up being this crazy old cat lady, just in that, just me by myself. But it's like I have gotten so guarded with that peace that is precious, and it took me a while to get there. It took me a long time to get there, and now that I'm there, I am more aware of my true feelings, not my feelings that are tainted by past experiences or fears or doubts. My feelings that are more, keep it real. Like, instead of saying, well, 5 years ago, somebody left me a negative review and it really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Now it's like, wow, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm still, people still buying my book. It's putting it up in perspective instead of dwelling on the negative,
Yeah. I love how the part that you are really focused on your energy, your feelings, and your peace. I mean, I feel like when I went into this pandemic that I was getting into such a peaceful space of just doing my own thing that, I was upset about the non-traveling part, but the rest of that, I just felt okay. You know what I mean? I wasn't so like, oh my gosh, fire and brimstone, but I just was like, okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lesson in something, and I'm going to receive it right, not knowing. And I'm glad you mentioned that you're a Virgo. I'm an Aquarius. So, Virgos are overthinkers. Aquarians don't like to wait for nobody. We like to go right down the road and catch up if you can. And so I have been noticing my energy around that. I started working with, an astrologer just to understand my alignment. And, some people are like, ooh, that's kind of woo-woo stuff. I can use some woo-woo in my life because I can be really kind of like, So I can be expansive in that. And it's just been such a calming thing to be learning more about myself, but in a different way and in a deeper way. And it's all beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, this pandemic, as bad as it is, it has its benefits. It really does. I mean, I'm an introvert, so it's like my life didn't change much when they said, stay in the house. I'm like, whatever, but, but it is, I think if you want to look at the positive, it has forced a lot of us to, it's forced a lot of us to do a lot of things, to pay attention to our families more, to each other more. It's forced us to pay attention to ourselves more, to realize, to deal with those things that we were just, the world was so noisy and we're so busy that we didn't have time to really look inward. And so it's not the best situation, but I'm a firm believer that every situation, at least the ones I've been through, no matter, I'm not going to say no matter how bad, because there are some that are super bad, but there are lessons there. And if I can get a lesson out of it, then I'm good. I'm really good with that, you know. So
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just was talking to another client earlier today, and we were talking about all of our unlearning we all have to do.
yeah,
And do you react to it defensively? Do you welcome it and go through the door of unlearning, or do you shut down?
right,
No. And
right.
I was like, I always want to be going through the door, because if I'm in the space of unlearning, I don't know why I'm here really, you know?
Exactly. I can't. That's me too. I got to be here. I got
Yeah.
to. You know, this. It's life is just that. You don't
Yeah.
get too old to learn to not learn. You know.
Right. Right. So, what are you reading, or what are you learning about right now?
Um, I'm reading kind of some of everything. I'm reading a book called The Vanishing Half.
Oh, I have that.
Yep, I
Mm-hmm.
just started that one. And then I'm reading a book called, this one's fun. It's called, let me see, I wrote it down. Shirley Effin Lyle. And Effin meaning F, but it's FN, the letters. It's so cool. And it's kind of I can't even describe it, but it's just a weird book, but it's just like I'm loving it because it's so
Is it a
weird.
novel or no?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
novel. And then I'm reading a young adult novel called The Court of Thorns and Roses.
Mm.
And that one it's interesting. I just started it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it because I want to write young adult. So
Okay.
yeah, and I read young adult, but this is along the lines of something that I think my book is, you know, it'd be nice to kind of get a feel for.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm reading right now. I'm kind of
That's
all
good.
over the place. I got like a million,
And writing. Ooh,
sorta, you know,
yeah.
I'm starting to get back into my groove. I think the pandemic and the move and everything kind of took me out of it, but now
I'm
I'm starting to
sure.
feel like, okay, I'm getting back into it. So, yeah, but there's a
Okay.
lot of books. I'm a little behind. I'm like 3 books behind where I should be right now.
Oh my gosh, JB.
I know, right?
I know my stack is a little bit larger than it should be, but I'm having, like COVID reading time ambition. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, it's fine. It's all good.
yeah.
Okay. So when we see your biopic film, about the life of JD Mason and whatever they call it, you'll have a more creative title. But who are you going to select as the actor to play you?
I would say Jill Scott, but I ain't as cool as Jill Scott.
That's
Um,
who.
I'm not. I'm really not. I love her though. But I would say probably Kimberly Elise, because I'm not as skinny as her, but she's a little nerdy like me, and I think she'd do a good job.
Are you a vegan?
I'm a vegetarian.
Okay, so
Close.
that's close because she's
I'm close
vegan.
to vegan. Yeah. If I can give
Okay,
up some
okay.
seafood, I'd be all vegan, but I can't do that. And cheese and
Oh, I
eggs,
know.
I don't give that up.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I was like the vegan part. As soon as they say cheese, I'm like, I'm out.
I know, right? cheese curds, girl. You guys got the bomb cheese curds.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay, so we had Jill Scott, Kimberly Elise. Anybody else?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I have some suggestions, but we'll talk about offline for a couple of your siblings.
Okay.
Who could play them? That would be fun.
You leave my siblings alone. You stop.
These are good people. I can't be telling their business, but I'm like, if I could say that, it would just be so. And you'd be like, yes, I can see that. Yes,
Okay.
I can see that. It's all good. It's all good. I love them so much. Okay, so how can people connect with you after this broadcast? I know Jamina put your web link in the comments, so hopefully people can see that. But where can we follow you? Buy books, see books.
You can find me on Facebook at author JD Mason on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at JD Mason. Twitter, I'm there. Books are available. Most of the older ones are available pretty much everywhere. You can probably have to order them now because they've been out so long. Okay. And then some of the newer ones, Amazon mostly, but there are some on Barnes and Noble. I'm just learning this self-publishing business, and it's really interesting, and it's really demanding, and it's really fun. And so I'm still figuring out the nuances. My assistant will tell you I'm kind of lazy, but it's coming. And then I do have some other books that I'm shopping right now to some publishers in New York, just because I think I need the help.
Yeah.
I do need the help, and it's like doing this by yourself is cool. Because you can just like wake up one morning and say, hey, I think I'm going to drop this book, and boom, there it is. That's really awesome. Instead of waiting for a publisher for 2 years to come up and say, okay, now your book's out. It's like, dude, I'm on my 4th book by now. I don't.
That's me.
Yeah. So, yep. So I'm pretty much everywhere,
Yeah. And I just want to give a kudos to JD, in addition to her work and her awesomeness, like she has been very instrumental in supporting one of my actual clients. I put them in contact, and JD really helped my client like get over a hurdle in an area.
I like her. I love her pictures.
Oh yeah. And so I'm just so grateful that, I just was like, hey, I have this great client. I think you guys will connect. Very creative. So, and they just, it's really amazing to have women supporting other women, but really to understand, your superpower in really understanding the creative process in a different way that I could for her.
Yeah.
And you just breathe so much life into her, not knowing her.
Yeah.
And just because you wanted to support my work. And, I just completely appreciate that.
That's because I like you. I like you so and that girl of yours, oh my God. I remember meeting when we first met, and she was a baby, right? She was little.
She was little.
She was little. Your baby boy wasn't even here yet. And she was little. Now she's like the coolest person on the planet. I'm like, if I could go back and do my life again, I'd be her.
I kind of want to be that cool at that age too. Honestly.
Right?
Speaking, I don't have to do her kind of art, do my kind of art, but be that cool about it.
Be cool about it. That's it. She's like got all the cool points.
Oh, thank you so much. We're very, very proud, and we're very proud of, just like you said, doing things in your own way, on your own terms, because it's kind of noisy in her world too. And I've just been very impressed how she has handled all that, outside of parenting or anything, just how she is coming into her own. But thank you. I always have to encourage the creatives now. It's like such a passion.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to be on with us today in Wednesday Club. Appreciate all the gems that you said. A lot of great comments here. Somebody had written, they hope that I save this live so they can come back to it. Yes, I will. You can find that in my IGTV. It will be there. I'm not taking it down or anything like that. And I'll also put it on my YouTube too. And so make sure you connect with JD, follow her, support her work, tell your friends about it. There are some very, I would describe as fun and steamy books from JD that I enjoy. So get into it. And and thanks again for being on today.
Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. That was a great conversation. Thank you. Let's see, author. Oh my gosh. Hero. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, girl. So I apologize if I butchered that.
Thanks. Oh, that's Unique. That's a lady I'm mentoring. Her name is Unique.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, Unique. Hi. So fun and steamy. Yep, that's the hashtag for this, fun and steamy. So next week we'll be back on Wednesday Club at 12 p.m. Pacific here, and I'll be talking to the fabulous Amy Pearson. We'll be talking about failure and getting over our addiction to approval. So
that sounds cool.
Cool. So thank you again, JD. I will be in contact, and everybody stay safe. Have a good day. Wear a mask and exercise your creativity.
Peace out.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.